Acer has struggled over the past few years to cement their presence in the gaming hardware scene. The Predator 15 and 17-inch range did well, but the brand fell off the wagon a bit when they revealed the 21X, a 350,000 Rand gaming laptop with two GTX 1080 Ti GPUs inside and a massive 21-inch curved screen. Who would buy that? Well, no one really, but the device was more a prototype to see what was possible for Acer. Acer then made the Predator Triton, but that still struggled to gain momentum due to its high price tag due to the GTX 1080 Max-Q chipset. Acer then went back to the drawing board this year and created the Helios 300 and Helios 500. No gimmick gaming laptops that include raw power and great tech that every gamer could find a use for. I have already reviewed the Helios 300, but the Helios 500 is the older brother to the range and not only makes for a fantastic high-end device, but its power will carry you through many years of gaming. Packed with an unlocked Intel Core-i9 8750HK CPU and the GTX 1070, the Helios 500 is an absolute beast. It all comes together thanks to its fantastic 144Hz display with G-Sync, 16 gigs of RAM, various storage options, and the best cooling system we have experienced on a gaming laptop in quite a while. It is so great that even thermal throttling on the Core-i9 CPU never happened throughout all our tests. The design of the Helios 500 follows the same stance as the internals. Acer has designed a pretty sexy device, and while it is a bit bulky, it is smaller compared to some devices like the Asus G703 and the MSI GT75, which is a big deal given that they are two 17-inch gaming laptops as well. There's no aluminium on the casing at all this time, with the device boasting a full plastic casing. On the top, you have the sleek Predator logo in blue, the new color scheme for the Helios 500 range. The back boasts two vents that are also blue, which in a way wraps around to the side of the device. When it comes to ports, the Helios 500 has enough of them to basically replace your desktop PC, with there being 3 times USB 3.1 ports, a display port out, HDMI, and 2 USB Type-C ports, meaning this laptop's basically ready for the future. When opening up the device, you are welcome to a full keyboard that feels great. The keys have a nice click to them, and while they are not mechanics, rather dome switches, I was able to type much faster and game better too, compared to my Razer Deathstalker keyboard which I use on my desktop. When it comes to gaming, the keys are pretty great there too. There are 4 zones that you can configure in terms of Rgb lighting, and while it would have been better to have individual key lighting, this is a step up of the Helios 300's red-only design. The WASD keys have a blue border that makes it easier to spot, and the directional keys have this too. The best feature, however, is the trackpad. This glass pad looks great with a blue border that lights up around the edges, but it is the smooth nature and extra click buttons underneath that makes it feel fantastic while you're using the device without a mouse. In terms of dimensions, the Helios 500 weighs 3.7 kgs and is 1.5 inches thick. When coupled with the hefty power supply, you're looking at about 4.2 kgs, which is quite heavy, especially if you're planning on traveling with the device. The last point I want to touch on is the sound. The Helios 500 has a great stereo speaker, but the main push here is the built-in subwoofer that gives the sound that extra kick that most laptops and even tech devices lack. While it will never replace your PC speakers, it is a great feature that gives the laptop a little extra quality above everything else it does. Before we get into the specifics, the main feature of the Intel's new Core-i9 CPU is that it's easily overclockable. The Helios 500 comes with a built-in program called Predator Sense that allows you to do just that with one simple click. The CPU then hits higher clock speeds, but just how high are they? Well, testing out the overclocking was one thing, but it also had to do with the thermal throttling. Acer's Helios 500 has a fantastic cooling system, probably one of the best I've ever used, and this allowed for the CPU to hit these higher speeds without it being throttled by the heat. With Apple's recent controversy surrounding the new MacBook Pro thermal throttling, I was interested to see if the same CPU, which is also in the Apple's MacBook Pro, would suffer from the same issue. Well, it did not. The Acer Helios 500 never throttled due to the higher temperatures. Instead, it hit between 4700 MHz and 4900 MHz while making use of the built-in overclocking profile. I also turned on Acer's Cool Boost tech, which allowed for the system to stay cool. During benchmarks, the CPU hit some high 4900 MHz speeds, and the CPU stayed at a decent 80 to 90 degrees. I pushed the limit even further by maxing out the CPU and the fans, and the Geekbench score went up even more. In a nutshell, the Core-i9 in the Helios 500 can easily be overclocked at 4.9 GHz without it being throttled thanks to the cooling in the device. It is also important to know that the CPU naturally reaches higher clock speeds without you having to physically overclock it. Still, it is clear that the CPU is a beast, as the extra boost it gets from the unlocked state makes a big difference, especially for higher resolution gaming and rendering programs. As for the GPU, the GTX 1070 is already a pretty hefty chip, so while it is able to be overclocked to a certain degree, it handles everything pretty well without you having to push it even further. Gaming in general was flawless. Destiny 2 was maxing out at 144 frames per second on max with 20% render resolution increase too. This was with overclocking set to turbo and the cool boost tech on. When running tests, the proof was in the results. Final Fantasy XV Windows Edition came out 7th on the list of all tests ever done for the game, which is pretty impressive. This being 400 points shy of beating a desktop GTX 1080, and this just goes to show how much power is actually inside the device. There's no doubt power within the Helios 500, as you can see from the tests. You'll be able to get away with running any modern game on Ultra while benefiting from 144 FPS on some titles as well. Speaking of which, the display on the Helios 500 is remarkable. It is a 144Hz G-Sync Full HD screen, and it is bright, coming in at a max 410 nits, which is one of the highest I've ever used on a gaming laptop and much better than the competition. With a 91% color space and great viewing angles, it is a really impressive experience while gaming and even working and watching Netflix. Contrast ratio with a solid 1000:1 after calibration, which is also very good. Acer chose a great display, and everything it has to offer makes it a gaming breeze. The Acer Predator Helios 500 is a beast of a machine, but at the same time, it feels like it has the perfect balance of power and performance to deliver something we've been asking for. There is no gimmick here, just a powerful CPU coupled with a great GTX 1070, all delivered with a remarkable display. It also has a great look on your desk with its sleek blue finishes and sexy vents. In my opinion, it's a complete package. The device starts at $39,999 and goes up to $49,999 depending on the storage options. The Helios 500 is available in SA from participating retailers and at shopacer.co.za.